Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is the Expendables Go To Hell, written by Sylvester Stallone, Chuck Dixon, Richard C. Meyer, art by Graham Nolan, and a whole bunch of other people. This really should be called the Expendables Cameo Edition, because that's really what this book is just an ungodly amount of historical cameos. By the way, this is the Richard C. Meyer cover variant, so this is your boy Zach's art. Coloring done by Kyle Ritter, as well as his background and all the other stuff. It's actually not bad, though. I think his chest looks kind of weird. Like, you figure with how freaking massive his arms are, his chest would also be really big, but it kind of looks like it's flat on him. But whatever, not a big deal. Anyhow, let's get into this. You can see all the number of people in here. So, story by Sylvester Stallone and Chuck Dixon. Script by Chuck Dixon and Richard C. Meyer. Art by Graham Nolan. Colors by Daniel Brown. Letters by Carlos Manguel. Prologue. So the prologue's Aaron Alfecci. There's a bunch of side quests, which, by the way, they don't actually get, like, for whatever reason in this book, it's all one continuous flow for the story. But he notes out all these side quests, but you don't actually get keyed into when these side quests occur. It feels like it flows, and just all of a sudden the art changes, and you're like, what the fuck? But basically there's these little side quests, and the art changes. So you got Butch Guice, Jason Johnson, and Kelsey Shannon, and then here are all the variant covers that for this campaign. So let's get something out of the way here. Quick background. This campaign was hella late. Super late. I think it was at least a year, maybe a year and a half late, from what I remember. It was actually like a really big deal, and I think I covered it several times in my old series last week on Indiegogo. When it came out, it was a big deal because it was the first sort of collaboration between Richard C. Meyer and really Comicsgate and sort of, Hollywood proper with Sylvester Stallone and the Expendables franchise. And a lot of people thought that this campaign would be $1 million campaign, and it ended up not being $1 million campaign. Not really sure what happened. I think probably the biggest one is I think Richard C. Myers just stopped promoting it after a while. So I think it stalled out, I think at like $250,000 or something like that. And then for whatever reason, this book took forever to make it. Holy crap. I have no idea what delayed this book for so long and why it was so unbelievably late. And having read through it, I still don't actually know why it was very late. As I'll go through this book here, I'm not going to get super deep into it because the story is, well, it's kind of thin. It's kind of like an Expendables movie. You're not really getting into the movie for the lore and the plot. It's really more to just see cameos and things get shot up, right? But yeah, no, let's just jump into it. So the Expendables Go To Hell, government name, the Expendables take LSD. So we get a nice little Aaron Alfecci. This is very similar to Jawbreaker's God King. You have basically a review section right here. So this is Richard C. Meyer and Aaron Alfecci basically explaining who the Expendables are and a little bit of background history about the major members and all the other stuff. This helps a little bit, especially if you're not an Expendables fan. Unfortunately, it doesn't really help enough because literally everything and anything shows up in this book. And my fair warning to anybody who's going to pick this up and enjoy it, I hope you are a very big Expendables nerd and also a very big history nerd, because there's just going to be history references and Expendables references everywhere, and they will not be explained. They will just be presented as is. Good luck. Anyway, we jump into it, and the Expendables are basically on some mission in Mali. They talk about a mission built here, and they're, in typical Expendables, they're in a bad situation, and then the suicide bomber blows them up, and they wake up in hell. Very good right here. I like the opening because it was very quick and to the point. Very Richard C. Myers, too, in that it's moving at, like, the literal speed of light. It's a lot of terse dialogue here and there. Again, with this kind of stuff, it's similar to was it Impossible Stars, you don't really know how much of this is Chuck Dixon, how much of this is Richard C. Myers. You can just guess for the most part. I will say overall, the dialogue for this book is like 50-50. There's some good spots here and there, but I would actually say the dialogue is a lot better in Impossible Stars than in this book. And mainly it's because of how disjointed everything is. So they end up in hell and they meet literally everybody. So there's German soldiers. Here's Audie Murphy, who, if you didn't know, famous World War II guy. And then there's war elephants. And then here's the rest of the Expendables on a car. And then this guy gets a sword, and then he gets eaten by a worm, and then they get sent to further hell. Here's the Stuka bombers here. And then they meet up with Tool, who's from another Expendables movie, who's apparently in samurai garb. And then we get like a bunch of other stuff. I'm just running through. There's Valkyrie and flying birds, fighters, dragons. As you can tell, this very much is a straight up acid trip through hell. And a lot of it doesn't really, they're basically kind of just grudging through hell, meeting random people in history. So you have Harold Harada, Boudica. There's Benedict Arnold, Ulysses S. Grant. Why is Ulysses S. Grant in hell? Like, that's the other thing, is there's a lot of people in hell that you sort of like, if you know history, you're like, wait, why are they in hell? And, they kind of just go with it and say, hey, just go with it. Which further cements my feeling of this being just a straight up acid trip, because none of it really makes sense. But okay, we'll just go with it. In a way, it kind of mirrors the Expendables movies. And it's just a cameo fest, and it's not meant to be super, be very clear and make sense. It's really meant to just be like, oh, look at this, look at that, look at this, here's Chuck Norris. Which, if you're an Expendables fan and that's what you love about the movies, you may like this, but you may have to also be a bit of a history nerd, because it's a lot of history stuff, right? So, a lot of going around fighting other random people. So a lot of biblical people. So here's Goliath. Here's Judas. Then you get like a lot of bad people. Mao Zedong, Saddam Hussein, Adolf Hitler, Gaius Caligula, and of course Satan. By the way, the art in this book is... first off, the color scheme is basically brown, gray, red. And then, various textures of that, right? And it eventually, this book starts to wear on you in terms of color, right? Like, because it's in hell, there's only really one color. And you get to the point where, like, sometimes you wonder if this book actually would have been better in black and white. Like, it's like almost the opposite of whatchamacallit, the Richard C. Myers' other book, The Ballad of No, where I thought that book would actually be way better in color than it was in black and white. Just because in black and white, the brushiness of it just made everything just blend, and there wasn't enough contrast when you're looking at this, especially for Los Angeles, which is a fairly colorful city, right? Now, on the other hand, hell, all the colors here make a lot of sense. Like, it makes sense it would be grimy, brimstony, red, brown, black, gray, whatever, right? But in terms of like your eyes, the color palette just wears on you. And honestly, you probably could have just saved a ton of money and accomplished literally the same thing. Actually had more creativity if you would have just used black and white, gray tones, zipitones, etc., right? Especially in the way, like, say, the Japanese do. But, whatever. We're just going to go with it. And then this is one of the side quests where, as you can see, the art just completely changes, and we can tell this is Kelsey Shannon. By the way, this art is also different. This is clearly Butch Guice. And here's Kelsey Shannon, and this is just a side story with Lee Christmas and some chick he meets in hell and bangs and then kills. And then we jump over into basically a great battle where everybody in all of history, from all of time, meets each other, including Miyamoto Musashi, which I was like, what the heck? For those of you who've been watching my channel, right, I just recently did Vagabond and also recommended Eiji Yoshikawa's novel. So here comes Miyamoto Sashi. Interestingly enough, not wielding two swords. Kind of lame here. I think it would have been better if he was wielding two swords. Also, I don't know, this guy looks almost like generic samurai guy, right? And that's the other thing, the art. The art in this book, I would say, is okay. And this is coming from someone, I like Graham Nolan, I like Kelsey Shannon, Butch Guice, but the art, a lot of times I feel like it could have more detail, or I feel like it almost looks a little rushed here and there. And then one thing I do notice is that a lot of it is just, color backgrounds gray, color backgrounds orange, color backgrounds like red and black. There's not a lot of like detail and texture into the backgrounds in this story. A lot of it just kind of just blends. Nothing really pops. And then there's a couple pages like what is it? This one right here at the end where Satan shows. This is almost like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't find this super attractive or impressive. At least that's just me. Other people might have a different opinion. I didn't find this art for this whole book really that great, and a lot of these artists are very good, and I feel like they could have done a lot better, but maybe that's just me. You might have a different opinion in this case, right? So anyway, more batshit craziness occurs, end up getting into a tank, then they run into Gunner, who supposedly betrayed them, but then betrays his betrayers back. By the way, apparently he kills Che Guevara. Good job. Good job, Gunner. And then I remember this was, who's his name? This was Mel Gibson's character from the movie Stonebanks. And they get into more fights and stuff. And then inexplicably, somehow this spear that he got from the Mickey Rourke character is able to apparently vaporize people. I'm not really sure why it's able to, and it's not really explained why it's able to, but don't worry about it, just deal with it. Because shortly after a bunch of other battles and, them killing Mel Gibson and then killing Hitler and then, Satan popping out, they're able to apparently use this spear to transport out of nowhere. So apparently it's something to get them out of their LSD high, and then they wake up and apparently they live from the suicide bomber, and they also all apparently got treated with LSD instead of morphine, and the gang's still here for more adventures, right? Freaking Vision Quest. You get some more art in the background here. Oh, by the way, this is the I forgot to show this. This is the pack that it came with. So you do, in fact, get a dog tag, patch, a bunch of cards, a bookmark, a print, and then 2 fold-em-up posters. So I believe this was $25. So in terms of just general value, it's a quality printing and a pretty long book. And you got 2 posters and a bunch of, good stuff right here. So I think it, overall can't complain about the value for the standard price right here. But yeah, man. I think, I don't think I would, here's the deal. I think overall, if you are a big Expendables fan, I think this is a nice package, especially with all the goodies and the collectability of this. Because again, only so many of these were made, and who knows if this ever gets reprinted again. But if you're an Expendables fan, this is a pretty cool package. If you're just a comic book fan, this book is fucking whack. It is really fucking whack. And I'm not really sure what was planned out here. But yeah, I don't know. For Expendables fans, pick it up. For comic book fans, I would say just pass, maybe if you've got it, I would flip it to an Expendables fan, because it is a really cool thing to have if you're a fan of that franchise. Anyhow, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you got any comments on the Expendables Go to Hell, leave it down below, and I will see you next time.